What's going on, everybody? Ryjack back here for another video. Today we're talking Man City transfer news. Of course, it's the number one thing we like to talk about here on the channel. Or at least I do. It's one of my favorite things. I love the games, of course, and I love seeing City scored, win. But I don't know what it is. Transfer news just hits different for me. So before we do dive into the latest bits of news, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of everything. Of course, like, sub if you're new. We're on the road to 400 subs, getting closer every day. So very much appreciate the support on the channel. I also have an Instagram linked in my YouTube bio, TikTok, as well as a Discord channel for City fans. If you're interested in joining, you can hop in and we just talk about City transfer rumors, everything like that. World football, all of it. Very cool. If you're interested in that, leave a comment. Of course, if you can't find it, I can send it to you. Anyway, let's start talking about it. So I think the biggest and most relevant story at the moment is probably the James Trafford goalie situation. So as of a couple days ago, Fabrizio drops the story. He says Trafford has accepted a return move to City, only if, of course, we figure out our goalkeeping situation, whether Ederson leaves or Ortega leaves. Now, my personal opinion, I don't see us paying 30 to 35 million, whatever it ends up being, for Trafford, and then Ederson also stays and he's the backup for a season. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. If Trafford is coming in, surely it is to be the starting keeper, and Ederson would be the one that has to go. Ortega, maybe he sees Trafford come in and thinks he can compete, but again, I don't see Trafford coming in as a backup. So surely the writing would be on the wall, and then Ortega would want to leave. Maybe City just kind of hold firm and are not interested in selling Ortega should Ederson leave and Trafford come in, and we just say to Ortega, we don't want to replace all three goalies in the same window. You got a contract. Unfortunately, you're gonna be here and you're gonna play the cups. Maybe that's how it goes. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe City are fine with letting Ortega leave and finding a new backup. Again, maybe it could be another English keeper. We save a non-homegrown spot somewhere else rather than the backup keeper. It does kind of seem like a waste of a spot for me personally, for a guy that is going to play between 5 and 10 games a season, barring injury for your starter in the position. But all in all, with the story, I think Trafford coming in is probably directly related to the no Livramento deal happening. That one's not happening. City have definitely distanced themselves. It's too expensive, which I have said from the beginning. It has to be a world record fee for a fullback, a right back, left back. Regardless, it has to beat whatever Hakimi's deal was. I think it was 70 million a couple of years ago. And I just see them, Newcastle, wanting 80 million for Livramento, and it's not worth it to me. I've said multiple times, I think the right back position is probably, if you had to rank it in importance, it's probably near the bottom. It just is. Unfortunately, I'm not hating on right backs. It's just that is the case, in my opinion. So I don't see City spending the money there. Goalie, again, instead of spending money on the homegrown right back, you switch your focus to the homegrown goalkeeper, which is why the Diogo Costa move is essentially not happening now. I know we got some reports saying City were still wanting Costa. There's some reports out there about Donnarumma, but I don't buy that. I think it is all James Trafford, and it's Trafford because Livramento is not happening. We need to consider homegrown. Like I say, it is important. It's a rule. We can't get around it. So it's going to be Trafford coming in and Ederson leaving. That's my prediction. I don't know if it happens by the end of this week, kind of like I thought it would, but maybe by the end of next week we see Trafford officially announced as a City player and Ederson as a Galatasaray player. Of course, Ederson could go to another club, maybe a Saudi club if they decide to come in, but that seems like the most likely scenario, with Ortega maybe making a move later in the window. But definitely Ederson, I think, is the priority to find a new club, and Trafford is the priority to come in and be the new number one, which is cool. Like, we haven't had England's number one since we had Joe Hart, and I just think it's a cool thing to have, is England's number one is also your club's number one. And I'm not even English. Obviously, I'm American, so it's not a huge deal to me, but it is cool. So, another thing, he's an academy player, which is also just, it's a little extra special when those guys make it at the club. And yes, he had to leave, go do a loan or go to Burnley for a while, but all in all, he comes back and hopefully performs well and is, falls in line as one of the great goalkeepers we've had. We've had relatively very good keepers since, Joe Hart, Ederson. I know we had Bravo, which didn't work out super great, but Ederson, Joe Hart have been fantastic goalies for us. I know Ederson gets a lot of hate online, but let's be honest, guys. He is our best ever keeper. So seeing him go is sad, but it is what it is. Trafford in, Ederson out. My prediction, maybe by the end of next week. Now, we move on. News story, right back. Again, I said Livermento's not happening. We still are interested in a right back, of course. There's links to Jules Koundé, Barcelona. I did a TikTok about this, and I had some people comment that I undersold how good Jules Koundé is. I said he was just a great player. He apparently, according to the Barca fans who attacked me, said he is the best right back in the world, bar Hakimi. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. I haven't watched Barca week in, week out like I have, City, so I don't know. But I do agree Koundé is a very, very good player and would be fantastic for City. Obviously, a few years ago, we were linked with him when he was still at Sevilla, ended up joining Barcelona. I think it'd be a fantastic signing. He, in my mind, is like an upgraded version of Akanji. He is a center back by trade who can play right back and is defensively solid, kind of like Akanji is, and not amazing going forward. But again, the right back position, when we have Aït-Nouri at left back, Aït-Nouri is an all-out attack type of left back. I would assume the right back is going to be a more defensively solid player, which would be Koundé. Very defensively solid and good enough going forward. Not Hakimi good, but good and very would fit the system well. He's a Guardiola player, I think, and I'd be happy with the Koundé move. Is it going to happen? No. There's just no way. Barca sell. Barcelona do their own kind of thing. It doesn't seem like the rules really apply to them. They don't have money, but they buy all these players. So I don't know. I would be very surprised if that deal does end up happening. I just think that Barca and City probably don't have the best relations. Allegedly they haven't paid us for Ferran Torres yet. So I don't know. It just seems like a deal would be unlikely, in my opinion. Barca want to get him on a new contract. It expires in 2 years. That story does come out. So maybe this is even just him or his agent trying to get a new contract at Barca. I just don't see it happening personally. Should it happen? It would be great. I would love it, of course. So, moving on. We do get a bit of more news about the goalkeeping situation. Ortega had rumors going over to Burnley as Trafford's replacement, if that deal goes through. However, Ty Marshall over at Manchester Evening News does say that is not the case. It's not happening. He would be, shocked if Ortega goes to Burnley. Again, I did think that was kind of a good move for him, but maybe if he does move on, wants to go back to Germany. Obviously played in the Bundesliga for a while. Maybe that's where he ends up going, and it's not going to be another Premier League club. Again, City might not want to sell to a Premier League club, so maybe that's what it is. Anyway, not much else on the Ortega front other than he's probably not going to Burnley. We get some news on Vitor Reis. There was some rumors that Girona were really interested in getting him on loan and giving him the season and then go back to City. However, City are not interested in that. City want him to resume preseason training, and he is not expected to join Girona on loan, which is nice. I believe in Vitor Reis. I want to see him in and around the team, and I want to see him get game time. He didn't get a lot last year. He got very little in the Club World Cup, which was disappointing, but we have 7 center backs, and in my opinion, 2 probably have to go. I think if you polled the City fans, people would probably say Akanji is one that they are ready to move on. And then the second one, I would guess they say a combination of either Stones or maybe even Ake. Those are the 2. But people don't want these young players that we buy from Brazil or from Uzbekistan. They don't want them to go on loan because they're young and exciting. And I kind of back that as well. I do want Vitor Reis to stay. I want to have him be given a chance, and I'd be super happy with that. I'd be upset if he did go out on loan. I think that would be disappointing and probably the wrong move, just because there's not a lot of players that go out on loan and come back and make it at City. It just is not super common. While it does happen for other clubs, it doesn't really happen for Manchester City for whatever reason. More reports come out. City are not planning on signing another midfielder this summer. They are happy with the way it is at the moment. Again, it doesn't say we're not going to be selling some midfielders because, of course, the report comes out that Nico G or Ilkay Gundogan could depart. One of those two. I think if you're deciding between those two, it's a pretty easy decision. Just you're going to be getting rid of Ilkay Gundogan. He's 35 years old, only got 1 year left on the contract. You just made a huge investment in Nico G in January. Seems like that one is it's just a bad idea to move on from Nico Gonzalez after he gets like 10 games, and in those games, I thought he was pretty good. You guys can let me know, of course, what you think of Nico G, but I think he has what it takes to make it at City. Is he going to be a superstar, a Rodri-level player? I don't know. Probably not, but, who is? Rodri is one of one. He's the best defensive midfielder potentially the Premier League has ever seen. So that standard is not going to be reached by every midfield signing we get, and that's okay. We need a guy who can come in his rotation, and are we going to have that with Gundogan? Certainly not, in my opinion. It's not going to happen, and maybe you have it in Nico G. So I think you roll the dice, you keep Nico G, and you move on Gundogan, while also Calvin Phillips, Grealish, James McAtee are definitely heading out this summer. Again, not really news there, but that was also reported in that article. Speaking of James McAtee, he has rejected a move to Germany as well as Italy. He did that tour where he visited Frankfurt, and Dortmund, I think, maybe Leverkusen as well, and he decided it wasn't for him. Germany's not for him. He wants to go to the Premier League. At the moment, Forest are the most likely destination, but I don't think I've seen a bid or any news of a potential bid. It's just James McAtee wants to stay in the Prem, and Forest are the ones that look most likely at the moment, which no big deal, is what it is. I think James McAtee is not going to make it at City, and I think anybody saying he is another Cole Palmer situation is just playing up the Cole Palmer situation. That's not happening every time. City move on academy players all the time, and there's only one Cole Palmer. So, yes, we move players on, and they do well at other places. Morgan Rogers has done well at Villa, but is he Cole Palmer's level? No. Cole Palmer is a special situation where obviously that was the wrong decision to sell, but the other ones fund our transfers. So I don't think it's fair to say, every academy guy that has any sort of potential we sell is going to be the next Cole Palmer. I think that's just making it too simple. It's too simple of an argument to make. So I would say that's not how it's going to happen. I don't believe McAtee becomes a world-class player. Is he good enough for the Premier League? Yes, certainly. He is definitely good enough to be a top 10 Premier League club. Maybe even a Europa League club. But is he Champions League level? I don't see it personally. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it turns out and he's exactly Cole Palmer, duplicate 2.0, but I just doubt that. And the last story of the day, at the moment, news of Sivert Mannsverk has been finally announced. I know that we got the here we go from Fabrizio quite a long time ago, but he's officially joining the club. And he will spend preseason with City, and then they'll sort out a loan, which is kind of nice. Maybe there's a small chance he spends preseason, and Pep is super impressed, and he's like, wow, this guy, mega, he's got to stay with us. I don't think that'll happen. Does look likely that he's going to go on loan. And at the moment, there are 8 European clubs keen to sign Sivert Mannsverk on loan. I think he'll probably end up at Lyon. Just my opinion. I think Lyon, now that they're not going to be relegated, they're a big club, probably one of the top 5 in the French league. That is a sizable step up from the Norwegian First League. Interesting that he could go to Girona, but I remember a while ago he was not super interested in the deal of going to Girona. So my guess is he ends up at Lyon. We obviously have that deal with them since we signed Cherokee that we would send someone on loan. And I'll be honest, I don't know who else there is. Maybe it's Claudio Echeverri that goes on loan there. But again, that is speculation. I haven't really seen much about Echeverri to Lyon. Echeverri may be loaned. It might happen, but I I don't know. I feel like Echeverri is more likely to go to the Spanish league, while Naipan is more likely to go to the French league. Just my general take on that news there. Anyway, that is the transfer news of the day. Hopefully we get some major news over the next week and we can go live and do some reactions to that and talk with the chat. But do leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think of going on, the goalkeeping, the right back situation, the loanee situation, and who's going to leave the club. Are we moving on Gundogan? Are we moving on Kovacic? All the older players, are they going to be pushed out, or are we going to roll with them again? I don't know. It's a lot left of this transfer window. So thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you are new. And like I said, check out the Discord channel. It's really cool. A lot of City fans in it. So I will see you in the next one.